Immortals, what up, and welcome to my actual official thoughts on the Blade of Galadriel DLC. Now, I'm gonna start off by saying this DLC is a mixed bag, alright? Like, what it does really well, it does extremely well. Like, it's sort of the main game vamped up to 11. Like, what the main game did well, this game also does, I feel like, in some ways better. But what this game did poorly, this game is absolutely worse. Now, this is what I'm showing you right now is just me playing, a recording of me playing that I just did, so I could have something that is playing, something interesting to look at while I'm talking about this DLC. Like, the gameplay was phenomenal. I adored the gameplay of this DLC. While the story, well, not bad in the way I thought it was going to be, which, thank God, if they had messed with the Galadriel in, like, horrible ways, I would have had major problems. But they didn't, and in fact, what they went with the direction they took, in actually my opinion, was worse. And what's kind of hilarious is I had the exact same reaction to, I actually had the story about Blade Galadriel spoiled to me before I went into the game. And in much ways, I was like, oh no, that is so incredibly stupid, not even they would think about doing that. And then it actually turned out. And the scary part is I kind of called it when I said when I found out Isildur was going to be a ring wraith, my first thought was, oh no, that means that there's one ring that didn't get turned into ring wraith, and it most likely went to a queen, because we all need that strong female protagonist. I'm like, why do we need strong female protagonists to display masculine, like, why do we need strong female protagonists to tell us that women can do the same thing as men? I mean, that's kind of an understood thing for me personally. Like, I've always understood that. Fine. But then again, I must keep in mind not everyone understands that the same way I do. But I still don't, why did you have to reinvent the wheel is my whole problem. Like, why did you have to create these two ring wraiths to make a good enemy? And more specifically, these two ring wraiths were stronger than Talion, who is stronger than the Witch King, which is kind of really stupid from a lore-wide perspective. I mean, do I have a problem with the fact that there were two female ring wraiths? Yes, because all the ring wraiths in the lore were kings. And if you hadn't already gone so far with the lore into the first game, I might have not had such a big problem with it. But, like, there's only suspension of belief only works if you have, like, sound logic that the world works on, but it doesn't even follow that. Like, this game actually retcons its own story. You know how it's in the main game, Talion fought against darkness for years. Well, in this game, he falls to darkness in about a week, which, again, that's actually a bit of a mixed bag, because it really throws me out of me being invested in what's going on. However, fighting Talion actually felt like fighting Talion. Like, I didn't feel like I was fighting an NPC pretending to be Talion. I felt like I was fighting Talion, which I'm gonna give, like, huge commendment to that. And it was by far the best boss fight in the game. I mean, because it was a really good boss fight. But as far as just everything else in the story, like, the fact the orcs are so willing to join you so quickly, that also really hurts the investment, because before, in the main game, you had to fight these orcs before you could recruit them. And the thing about Galadriel is that she refuses to dominate these orcs, which is like, okay, moral high ground. But the problem is, you had no problem with dominating Isildur or dominating Sauron, but you have absolutely no problem dominating these orcs, and it's never truly explained why. And another thing is the orcs are so ready to join an elf, especially an orc like the Bow of Morgoth, whose whole deal is that he was an orc who's been around since the time of Morgoth, which is where all my problems stem with this character. But, like, that's just sort of where I'm going with it. Like, it is nice to see Altariel more fleshed out, because, like, I thought an elven assassin going around the land of Mordor. That is actually a cool idea. Alright, and voice act by Laura Bailey of all people. Come on, you can't go wrong here. As far as voice acting goes. Like, Laura Bailey is probably one of my top voice actors, alright? Like, she's very good at what she does, but I guess what I had a lot of problem I had with these characters is that I couldn't figure out what they wanted, like what their motivations were, or what they were supposed to be doing, which is, like, I had that problem with Talion and Celebrimbor. It was probably most prevalent with Idril, but hey, we're talking about Eltariel. Like, I couldn't tell whether she didn't trust Celebrimbor, but all of a sudden she's betraying Talion for Celebrimbor, and there was no transition, except for when, Celebrimbor dominated, Isildur, which, that was, like, another problem I had. But I think another problem I had with this DLC is just the lack of common sense that literally Eltariel displays. Because when Talion is slowly succumbing to the power of the ring, I'm just like, and even Galadriel's like, get that ring, get the ring, and I'm just like, get the ring, and she doesn't get the ring. She takes him back to Minas Morgul to let him fall into the darkness. And wasn't her mission to kill Talion to make sure he doesn't fall into the darkness? Because even after he did fall to the darkness, she even failed at that, like, spectacularly. Even though, supposedly, she met the criteria to killing a ringwraith. In fact, she even met the criteria to killing ringwraiths better than the 2 female ringwraiths. Now, actually, when I first saw their backstory, my first thought was, where the heck am I? Like, please, alright, if you want to have a nice Asian setting, please make a Jade Empire game. Please, I need this. Like, it was beautiful, but it wasn't Middle-earth. That was the problem I had with it. Is that, and also, they only had half the criteria to killing ringwraiths. Or more specifically, they had half the criteria to killing one ringwraith in particular, the Witch King. The whole deal about the Witch King is, like, Witch King had that no man can kill him, but also, the only reason, like, Eowyn could kill the Witch King is because, Mary had stabbed the Witch King in the back with a dagger that was specifically made to fight the Witch King. Like, this was a Numenorian dagger that was heavily enchanted specifically to fight the Witch King. Like, not any other one. And these ringwraith ladies, they didn't have it. Now, they didn't have the criteria they needed, which I think is my main problem. So, like, there's not enough explanation. And also, like a lot of stuff I have to make so many assumptions on. And, yeah, there actually was an Asian ringwraith who was an Easterling. Like the Easterlings were the Asians of Middle-earth. Yeah, that's just how it's supposed to be. But the whole idea, there was actually one ringwraith who was an Asian, who wasn't a samurai. Like, that's what these ladies were going for. They were going for samurai, which, yeah, I could definitely see why they were going for it, and it could definitely work. However, not Middle-earth. Alright. But, like, I actually did really, I liked how it looked. It looked phenomenally beautiful. But as I was saying, like, it didn't feel like it belonged in Middle-earth. Like, I felt like I got thrown outside of Middle-earth, got thrown into a preview for the next Jade Empire game, and I was like, oh, it's Jade Empire! Oh, wait, this is supposed to be Middle-earth. Why? But please, Monolith, make a deal with BioWare. Make a Jade Empire game. I need this. But again, that's just one of the problems I had with the game, from the story perspective. Now, I personally am extremely happy they didn't really do anything with Galadriel, because anything they did with Galadriel would have completely butchered her. And Galadriel is by far one of the best characters in Lord of the Rings, if not the best, simply because she's supposed to be sort of the perfect character. But, like, I couldn't, but again, like, the same problem with all the other characters. They couldn't figure out what they were trying to do with her, so they just, but unlike the other characters, they just decided they weren't going to do anything with her, which, thank you. But, like, the gameplay-wise, when I was playing Eltariel, they didn't change much in the way of abilities, in my opinion. They just sort of recolored some abilities, and made it so some abilities should they slightly change the gimmick, but that's all they needed to do. It still felt great. Like the interesting orc aspects they brought in, those were phenomenal. Like, I like burrowers. I like the slam attack that the Ologs can have now. I like snipers. I liked Flint and Tinder. Like, when Flint died, I was so incredibly sad. I actually cared about Flint. Even though, just because of his personality, simply because of how lovable he was. But, again, like, everything else just failed to impress. Alright? And it really just made no sense to me, as far as the game, story-wise. However, I will get to say that I am, however, extremely excited for, because this was just minor changes that really made this DLC really worth it for me, because I did feel like I got my money's worth, as far as the gameplay goes. Not as far as story, my ending actually, I felt like was better for this than the actual story. But, but again, you can't really have everything. Alright, I'm not going to harp on the story too much, because what the main selling point of this game is the Nemesis system, and the orcs aren't really too much improved, but they're improved enough that, yeah, this could be worth it. So, I'm not really saying, like, the more I think about it, I'm not really saying anything anyone else hasn't already said. And, like, I guess I'm also pretty salty that, like, why didn't you have Kalmul? Kalmul is an actual name of a ring wraith. One of the only 2 ring wraith names we have. He is a fantastic, he's a fantastic thing. Like, you don't have to reinvent, again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if I had got to fight Kalmul like a ninja ring wraith, I would be so incredibly happy, because I would have absolutely have loved to see Kalmul. Like, why didn't you use that? But I digress from the story. I am extremely excited for, Galadriel, Desolation of Mordor, even though it's going to be horrifying to see what they do with the story. I'll be honest with you. If someone could literally tell me that Baranor turns into a teddy bear, and I will probably believe you, because that's how bad this story is. But the gameplay, oh my gosh, I can't wait. It's going to be an open world roguelike. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that they can pull it off. I'm also very happy as far as they finally decided to get rid of loot boxes, because, let's be honest, they weren't adding anything. Alright, like, I actually disagree with people, and I don't think they took away a lot, because I got through the final act pretty easily. I mean, it was kind of grindy, and it actually was a little bit taking me out of the immersion, because unlike all the other quests, it didn't pass with time. But that's really all my thoughts on the DLC. Actually, no, there's one more thing I want to talk about: the gear and the ability, like the gear. The gear, I actually thought mattered a lot more than in the base game. Like, they definitely did the gear better here. However, like, though the skill tree, like we can see right here, though it has only like a third of the abilities that the original skill tree had in the Shadow and Mordor game, it still feels a little bit overstuffed. Like, it does, not to the extent, like, it doesn't have nearly enough abilities, but I still have the same feeling about this as the other abilities. And I guess that the reason I didn't have this problem with Shadow of Mordor is because each ability progressed into each other. And while I definitely understand what they're trying to go for, but I really think they should have, like, reduced it to, like, the final ability. But however, I think that it's a given trade. It's a trade, like, because at the end of the day, I can do more in Shadow of War than I could do in Shadow of Mordor, which is fantastic. I just didn't really have a dilemma of what I wanted to choose. Which is actually, in my opinion, kind of what they were going for. Like, they're trying to make it so no ability was objectively better than the other ability, which they succeeded. I had a very hard time at picking what abilities I wanted. But in the end, I just had to go with gut. But other than that, that's all my thoughts on the DLC. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe for more content. I'll be uploading more normally again. So hopefully I'll see you guys around. Alright, so peace.